This video is kindly sponsored by Project Red. Check the link in the description to find out more. This video is made possible by 3D Musketeers, offering full-service product development, prototyping, and production, helping you make awesome from art to part. Links in the description.
Hello everyone, welcome to this week's Meet a Maker. Hello Faye, how you doing?
I'm doing fantastic because we are here with Hannah Makes, and I'm so excited.
Me too, so excited. Oh
I'm
my
so
god.
excited too.
How are you doing,
I'm
Hannah?
so excited. I'm literally glowing.
Literally
Glowing
glowing.
with
That is
excitement.
amazing. we were geeking out about it just before. It's so cool. That is, yeah.
I think
cool.
my head literally exploded when I noticed that you were both glowing and blinking, and I was just like, that's incredible. And it's just, it's very subtle. It's not like you're completely covered in LEDs. It's an accent LEDs.
Well, I think that like all women will understand that there is a very specific placement of these LEDs to avoid drawing gaze to particular areas.
Yes.
I mean, to be honest, like I did consider for a couple of minutes just putting two particularly well-placed LEDs. And then I was like,
That's
I'm wearing this in public,
fair.
so maybe I won't.
We'll do a bedroom version.
I think it's, I was gonna say that's a different version. I think that is the after dark version, possibly
After dark,
on lingerie. So just if you're gonna go there, you might as well lean into it and just go there.
Yeah.
But
I want to know if
this
that's
is very
been done
nice.
now.
Yeah, has that
I'm
been
sure.
done? It's got to have been done. Surely it
Surely
has.
someone's done that.
Yeah, like that would be amazing on like, stage shows and stuff. Like burlesque people. I'm sure there'd be a burlesque someone
Absolutely.
out there with some glowing.
Like wearing
I
nothing but
feel like I'm running through my
neopixels in a
Rolodex.
show I would watch.
You're like flick.
Have I seen this thing? Do I know someone who's possibly done this thing?
We'll find out.
Maybe.
Does anyone in the audience know? Let us know in the comments below.
Yes,
Oh.
yes. I think we would all enjoy seeing electronics enhanced burlesque. I think that would be a very special thing. Boy, we've gotten off to a great start, haven't we?
Yes, we haven't even
I'm
done it.
sorry, I'm
Hannah.
a terrible influence.
Who are you, Hannah? Tell the audience. Tell us about you.
Who am I? I'm not the girl with the glowing nipples.
Not today.
That might
She's
be
in our
somebody
brain.
else. I'm so sorry. I've like lowered the tone within like 2
No, I
minutes
love
of
it.
being on this show.
I'm here for
Jeez.
it.
Yeah. Who am I? I make some things. Lots of
Awesome
different things.
Yes.
Quite a lot of them have lights on because lights are really cool.
Lights are so
I
cool.
made this dress.
Amazing.
That's one of the things.
Good.
I
definitely want
genuinely
one now.
don't know what people know me best for. Because like Twitter has been a really exciting experience. I only joined like fairly recently.
Oh, really?
I mean, as we were saying before, like time is an illusion and coronavirus doubly so.
Yes.
So
Yep.
I
No, it's
don't
all
really remember when, but
insane.
it's only been like 1 or 2 years that I've been on Twitter because I just didn't for the longest time. And then I joined because I was writing a column for New Scientist magazine and they wanted me to try and like help promote it. And I was like, oh, I'll give this Twitter thing a try. And it turned out to be really great because there's people like you guys.
Yeah.
And I heard you say in another episode, like, make a Twitter is the best Twitter. And I'm like, so 110% agree with that.
Yeah.
It's just nothing but positivity and people sharing awesome things they built and sharing tips on how to do the same. And I just think it's like such a nourishing part of the internet. And so I really enjoyed like joining in with all of that. But I think that my first kind of group of followers came from the whole New Scientist thing. And then I think I've met a whole bunch of people who have no idea I did that. So
Yeah, I had no idea.
It's
What
been
was the
kind of
New
exciting.
Scientist thing?
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember where I first saw you. And I don't really remember the where or the why, but I do remember getting really, really excited because you both seemed very cool, made really cool things, and you're in my city. You're like actually someone I could meet in another universe.
It's ridiculous though, isn't it? Because like I was like over the moon when we started talking because it was like, another maker, like where I live, this is amazing. And then we both like simultaneously realized we'd managed to make friends at like the one time in like the history of London where we wouldn't actually be able to go and hang out. So, but this is a good opportunity. This is like the closest we get for the time being. So I'm just like making the most of this.
This is awesome. And one day you will hug in real life. It's going to happen.
Through the screen,
Yeah, one day we will actually be able to just hop on the tube and go to a pub and it'll be normal. I'm super skeptical of that.
Before, you were telling me about that cocktail bar that had cocktails that came with 9-volt batteries.
Yes.
And I swear to God, that is the first place you're taking me when we get out of lockdown.
If it still exists, I honestly think it might be gone. But who knows? This is London. We might be able to find another bar that serves drinks with 9-volt batteries. Like, this is a weird city, and I if it can happen once, it can happen again. Probably.
I think that's,
maybe.
yeah.
So what was the new scientist thing? I want to hear more about, what was that?
Yeah, so I used to work for New Scientist magazine. And at first I was just like an editor. And
as you do.
that was really great fun.
Casually.
I was editing science articles and, you know, making sure that it all looked nice and that all the science was right and that it was exciting and fun to read. And I was kind of aware that there was this kind of whole group of people who were making stuff and using technology, and it was really cool. And it really felt like something we should be covering because New Scientist, you know, it's a science and tech magazine for
There's
people.
overlap.
And
Yep.
absolutely. And I was like, we really should be covering this. So I kept on kind of saying, we should be doing something about makers. We should be doing something about making. That would be a really good column. And eventually they just turned around and went, well, since you're pushing for it, do you want to write it?
Yes.
And I was like, I mean, I do, but
like,
I don't know how to make things. So I've been a crafter like forever. I love cross stitch.
I mean,
I love like
your background definitely says you do some things.
Yeah.
Maybe occasionally.
I craft.
Kind of making.
You're so organized.
You know, it's deceptive. Like, I have a lot of boxes, but that doesn't mean I'm organized. I don't make that mistake.
As long as it looks organized.
Looks organized.
To be organized, I'd have to have put specific things in specific boxes. What you don't know is that, like, it's just distributed. Like, you just pick up a handful of stuff from the desk and shove it in one of the boxes and then give the appearance of being really organized until you spoil it by admitting to everyone that it's not.
Love it.
It's okay. I like you exactly the same, maybe if not a little bit more for that admission.
Me too.
I'm so pleased. I'm so pleased. I'm just like glancing over at the box. I've got one box up there that is labeled things that might be useful one day. And there's a broken mirror ball, a broken pair of headphones, 3 plastic fish, half of a robot, and some copper wire.
I mean, the copper wire definitely is useful. And the other ones, you never know. You never know. Sometimes you need a mirror ball. Yeah.
I think
you
there's a
have it in a
big crossover
box
between
with a
like makers
label.
and hoarders. Yeah. So I suppose that counts as organized, even if like I don't know why plastic fish and mirror balls should be in the same box.
You never know. You absolutely never know. So if you were doing, so you were writing for New Scientist and you were an editor, that must mean you have a sciencey background.
I do, yeah. I'm a physicist. Apparently.
That's very cool.
How did I know that?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I've got a master's in theoretical physics because really I shouldn't be making stuff because I did the theoretical degree because I was a danger in the lab.
Okay, now we need some
You
stories.
should do all of the science on paper. You shouldn't do the science for real. Do it on
Just
paper.
the maths.
And then I kind of left. And yeah, it was just the maths. Like, don't do any of the like physical stuff. And then I went, you know what? Sod that. I'm going to make things. And now that's what I do.
And now you light up.
You're like, what's the worst that can happen?
Amazing.
What's the worst that can happen?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, the worst that can happen is the experiment where I was trying to calculate the magnetic field of the Earth, and it's a reasonably simple experiment, but I managed to get the answer wrong in 2 orders of magnitude.
Oh!
And if my answer had been correct, then like you couldn't have iron in your blood because it would be so attracted to Earth's core that it would just be ripped out of you. Like that is how wrong I got it.
Okay. I'm glad it was theoretical in that case.
Yeah.
Oh
And
my
that was about the
God.
point I decided I was going to do the theoretical degree rather than carry on with like lab stuff. Yeah.
Amazing. Oh my God, that's so brilliant.
So if this dress bursts into flames at any point while I'm talking, you'll have an idea why.
See,
Yeah.
I love that you've kind of come somewhat back full circle. And I mean, thankfully, you're not necessarily creating things that's going to rip the iron out of our blood. But like you have kind of come back
Not on my
around to
list.
creating stuff. So
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. I always liked the idea of being able to combine like maths and physics and like craft, because I always did craft and cross stitch and things like that. And I did physics, and I just sort of like never really saw a way for them to kind of meet properly. And then when I was sort of at New Scientist and I said, hey, this making thing is really cool. And they said, well, do you want to write the column about it? I went, well, now is a very good time to learn. So I just sort of threw myself in and said, yeah, I'll write this column. Oh, the hubris.
That's awesome. It's so cool. And yeah, like I've never done a physics degree or anything, but I started a chemistry one before.
Oh, amazing.
And so yeah, I've always been a crafter, and so I'm very similar. I love both, and it's so fun when you get to put them together. And I think that's why printing excites me so much, is because like it's like a sciencey thing, but
Absolutely.
also a crafty thing. Yeah, and like it's just a magical place.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I love seeing the way people are combining kind of science and art and craft and stuff like that. As someone who's definitely come from more of the art side of things, whenever I see like anything that's real science heavy, I'm always like, oh, that's amazing. And then I want to know.
I'm the same
how
when
it
I see
works
something really
and how someone
artsy.
came up with it.
I think that's one of the things that's so fantastic about like the maker community, is that because people kind of come to it from all different backgrounds and all different trajectories, you've just got so many different skills and ideas and viewpoints that kind of come together to make something more amazing than any one of them could have made by themselves. And I just think that's been like a really amazing part of discovering that there's a whole community of people doing this.
Yeah,
You
it
know
must be
what?
really interesting discovering it and writing about it at the same time, like, and sharing that with
Yeah.
others. Like, I don't know, are there any cool stories in there? What was that experience like? Like, yeah, I don't know. It's very broad.
It was great, but it was also kind of terrifying because the column kind of changed over the time I was writing it. So it started out it was really kind of simple, and I was just sort of doing very straightforward kind of tutorial stuff. But I did like 1 or 2 kind of tutorials that were like how to make a light up Christmas card. And then my editor was like, I don't know if people are actually kind of going to follow these and make them. It's a bit like when the way he described it was sometimes when people watch cooking shows, it's not because they're actually going to make the recipe. They want to think they're going to make the recipe, and they want to watch someone make
This
something
is
elaborate
something
and think,
I've
I
learned
could
about
do that.
YouTube. Yes.
Yeah, actually.
Yeah,
No, 100%.
so you kind of watch things or you engage with stuff that you just think is cool, and you might take a bit of it and then apply that to whatever you're doing, but you don't necessarily follow it step by step. So he was like, just make it crazier, like, you know, go bigger with it. And I was like,
You
that's
don't need
the
to
best
necessarily
direction
teach
I've ever
someone else how to do
received.
it.
Yeah. And so the first thing I made after he said that was I made a horribly over-engineered device to tell you when your bath was done running.
I love it.
Because so I had basically 2 bits of pipe with a hinge, and there was a rubber duck attached to some Lego on one of the bits of pipe.
Of course.
And in the pipe, there was a kitchen foil ball. And at the bottom of the other pipe, there was a circuit with a battery and a buzzer. And basically, as the water level in the bath rose, the duck would rise and the arm would tilt and the ball would roll down the arm and then land at the bottom, completing the circuit and setting off the buzzer.
Amazing.
That's
Amazing.
flawless. That is flawless.
And it was so much fun. And I did a video of it, and I had like a whole, like, I had to run the bath like 4 times, and I was there thinking like, I'm so upset about the amount of water I'm wasting, but it looks really cool and I need another angle. But then I got like a few letters from people to the magazine being like, did you realize that if you just put the 2 ends of the wire in the water, that would have been enough? And I was like, actually I didn't, but I like my way better.
I do like the involvement of a
way
rubber
better.
duck. Like, that does just make it that much more fun.
And now I want to know when we're gonna see the Hannah makes Rube Goldberg machine, because like,
oh my God.
I definitely think you're building up to it. Like you've been training.
Oh, for sure.
You've been training.
That
for the
has
Rube
been on my
Goldberg.
list for such a long time. And actually, funny story, I was on like I think it was like Lad Bible or something, did a kind of series. I know it's weird, right? It was Lad Bible, but it was like challenge making Rube Goldberg devices in like a 5-hour time limit.
Oh.
And then get 2
gosh.
teams. And you've seen the YouTube channel, I think it's Joseph's Machines, or
That rings a bell.
he makes
Yeah.
like
Possibly.
amazing. I'll drop a link afterwards and we can maybe like
Like
you
I
know, put the
probably
link in the
have if
description
it's
or something, but like
Rube Goldberg machines, because I love those, but I'm bad at names. So.
exactly.
Yes.
But he makes some of the best and most ridiculous Rube Goldberg devices you've seen.
Excellent.
And he was kind of hosting the show, and so he was kind of coming around and giving us some tips while we were doing it. And so me and a friend kind of competed on that, and they had like a thing that you had to achieve, and then you had like 5 hours, and you could bring like 3 items from home, and you had to make the most ridiculous contraption you could. So for us, our brief was we had to feed the fish. And they had like a fish bowl there, and your device had to fit on the table, but eventually it had to end up with feeding the fish.
That is awesome. That is so fun.
And it was the most
Is this where the
fun.
3 plastic fish came from?
It is. It actually is.
That's so good.
I put the puzzle
I
together.
can't believe it. That's amazing. Like, you should be a detective, Faye. That was so good.
Detective Faye.
We didn't
so
even
proud of
script
myself.
that. That was amazing.
Yeah. I would not have. Yeah, that is awesome.
I got special powers.
Yeah. That is like magic.
Definitely.
That is so good.
Oh,
Is
no.
that like online anywhere? Like, can we see the room?
yeah, I wanna see it.
Yeah.
See?
Ah,
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, it should
Okay.
be. I'll try and find a link to it afterwards.
Awesome.
Definitely.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, that sounds amazing. And I do want to see what
So
these
much
plastic
fun.
fish look like.
Yep.
I
No,
can't
we need
remember
to
if
we need to
actually
meet the
used,
fish.
I think we did use the plastic fish.
Pardon?
Because I brought in like a whole bunch of. We found out like a few days before we went into film, like what the challenge was going to be, so that we'd have like just a couple of days to grab any items that we wanted to bring in. And so I was like, okay, it's fish themed. I've got a fish themed notebook. I've got plastic fish. I've got a fishing rod.
Amazing.
And yeah, and like the guy that I was doing it with, who was like, well, I've got like matches, and like he had a whole bunch of stuff that would be genuinely useful and show-stopping, and I was like, no,
Plastic
we
fish.
are
But
bringing
less
the fish.
Good looking. Less aesthetic. You were
Yeah.
like, I'm here for the aesthetic. The fish
I was so
aesthetic
here for the
is
aesthetic.
I'm
Yeah.
on this. You were
I even
absolutely
brought like a
100%
tin of
in.
tuna. I was like, but then so I brought like this tin of fish because I thought that was like perfect. Like, you know, you could have like domino fish tins or something. But then they were like, oh, that's brand placement. We can't use that.
You couldn't like put
you
tape
can
over
still
it?
use it, but yeah, they put tape over all of the branding, but it was over so much of the packet that it just looked like this. It could have been a tin of beans by the time they were finished with it.
You need to draw a little goldfish on there.
It's really disappointing.
Yeah. Oh, that's
Yeah.
That's not quite.
We
as
should have
That's a
done that.
bummer.
Aw.
I love it though.
Yeah.
That is that's amazing. And I can't stop imagining it now. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing it. That's gonna be very good.
It was so good. I'm not going to say any
you've
more
done-
about it just because I don't want to spoil the ending of our Rube Goldberg
Okay, no,
machine.
that's fair.
But just to
That's
drop that
fair.
in there.
I want
There is a surprise.
to see it for real.
You said you'd
Yes.
always been a maker. Is like, but then you got into the more, well, you've always been a crafter, I suppose. What got you into crafting when you were younger, presumably, than when you got into making?
Yeah, I have no idea. I
Pre-science.
think I just sort of always crafted. I mean, Lego was always a big deal.
Lego
Loved
is
making stuff out of Lego.
Yeah.
Yeah, and my mum loves crafts, and like I've got loads of people in my family who like crafts, so they were always making
That does
something
help.
like cross stitch and I always wanted to know what they were doing, and I wanted to copy them and do the same thing. But now it's kind of fun because I keep on being able to bring techniques back that like I've found from making, like saying, hey, you could add lights to that, or you could use conductive thread and like, or like conductive paint, and trying to find ways that I can help them augment what they do, the way that I was always like running around asking them what they were doing so that I could copy them.
That's beautiful. Like
that's been
full
nice.
circle of that is such a beautiful
No, that is really
thing.
nice.
Like I found similar with my mum too. Like, yeah, crafty influence in my life. And she's more arty as well. I haven't done much art, but she's very into art.
Same here, actually.
Oh, there you go.
Amazing.
Yeah. And it's been so nice to come back. Like she watched she had this exhibit going, and it was about reproduction methods throughout the ages. And they went all the way from cylinder seals, which were how people used to sign things back in the day by like rolling them into clay, right up through to 3D printing.
Oh,
and there's
wow.
like
Oh, wow.
bits of Da Vinci in there and like actual prints from, it's crazy. Anyway, point being, she's like, a lot of people in my small country town won't know what a 3D printer is. So maybe you could bring a 3D printer for the opening and just have it set up and just running so people can.
amazing.
And I was like, oh, that sounds fun. And I took it up. And I think it's the first time she actually saw one running, and like it actually like clicked in her brain what it could do. Cause she's like, oh, my daughter does 3D printing stuff. I don't, really get it. But she saw it, and then she's like, can we make lithopanes? And I'm like, yeah, that's really easy. Yeah, we can make. And she's like, can we make like sculptures? I'm like, yeah, we could do. And like it's just like got her so excited.
man.
And then like,
That's my favorite thing.
yeah, and then like we've done collaborations and stuff now where I've like set her up and taught her how to 3D
wow.
sculpt, and she's done, and it's just so like you said, it's really
I
nice
love
coming full
this.
circle and like bringing it back
Yeah.
and like being able to share back with the people who taught you. Yeah, like it was a beautiful moment.
I think that's like my favorite moment is like when you're kind of you've been explaining this technology to somebody and they kind of get it, they kind of don't,
Yeah.
and then there's that moment that it clicks, and then they start thinking about all the possibilities, and when you see them get excited about it,
Yeah.
that's just incredible.
Magic.
There's like no feeling like it.
I mean, I
'Cause when
still
they start
remember
going-
when that was me.
like you said, with the like, can we make lithopanes? It's like, yes,
Yeah.
yes, we can.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you asked.
Yeah. It was
Oh my God.
lovely. Yeah.
That is so nice. That's really, really nice. I'm definitely imagining it too. And it's just like the most wholesome like family 3D printing story ever. It's so nice. I like it.
And it's nice when you can make gifts for people as well, because when you kind of say the sorts of things that like this technology can do, and they're like, but isn't it just like printing plastic tap? And then you print them something that they find useful or that they really enjoy, and then they're like, oh, I get it now. This is
Yeah.
amazing. Like, can you make me another one?
Yeah.
And I mean, like, it's been obviously a thing throughout the pandemic, people being able to make things like PPE, but also like smaller things. Like I made my dad like a door pull so he could like touch buttons and in like lifts or, open doors without having to touch them. And he thought that was like mind blowing, like that you could do that. So
I 100% I think at this point in time, 95% of the gifts that I give to my family are 3D printed. That's awesome. And so they're kind of slowly starting to see like the capabilities of it and stuff like that. When they get a box and they're like, are these planters? I can just put these on the fence. They have holes for screws, and I'm like, yeah. And it's got a hole for the water to come out, and they're just like, you printed this on a thing in your home? And I was like, yeah.
yeah,
Wine,
yeah, I did.
wine
The
bottle
magic of
holders,
technology.
all sorts of shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you finding that the
is
gifts
magic.
are getting like more and more elaborate as your skill kind of like increases? Did you start out with like
Maybe.
keychains and now they're getting like, you know, planters and all sorts?
Well, I mean, everyone's getting picture frames now, so.
Oh yeah, no, of course.
Like that's just everyone just gets picture frames now.
That is a very complex picture frame. Like that was a lot of brain power behind that one.
Yeah.
But what's brilliant about
Which
that
is why
is that
there's
picture
nothing
frames is like kind of a standard gift. Like people get people picture frames as like a gift anyway, and now they can have the best one, and you designed it.
Yeah.
It
any
is
colour they
admittedly
like.
too. It has given me a wonderful excuse as well to support other artists by buying their art and then framing it and then
fantastic.
giving it away as a gift. Like gosh, I wish I had the time to also create the art and then the frame and then gift that. That would be amazing. Ain't nobody got time for that. So, you know, I can support other artists by buying their prints and framing them and giving them as gifts. So like this past year has been like the pinnacle of like good gifting and has been made possible through 3D printing, which is, you know, pretty awesome. But it is still really crazy to see somebody who has no experience or understanding of 3D printing to give them something that you've 3D printed and they're just like, what? It's you. What? Like, just the lack of comprehension is always like a weird and kind of like magical moment when you get to blow their mind about how it was made.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you find that
definitely.
people often just really underestimate how long it takes to print stuff as well? Because they kind of
yes.
think, okay,
Oh,
3D
yes.
printing, it's like a normal printer. So you just kind of press a button and it goes, and then it's done. And then you go like, oh, that took about 16 hours. And they go, 16 hours? And you're like, yeah, that, like...
Yep. Yeah,
I
no,
did
and that was pretty
like,
quick
you know,
too.
with it. Yeah, exactly.
Should have taken
It was
20,
like,
you know.
this is massive, like, you know, I cut the infill to like 2% and I'm like using one perimeter, like, come on.
My
And
settings
I'm like,
are
I don't know
good.
what those words mean, but 16 hours is a long time.
Yeah, definitely.
It's really funny actually because I've been rewatching the TV show Mr. Robot, which is an excellent TV show for anyone who hasn't watched it. But there's a scene in it where the main character 3D prints something, and
Oh, wow.
it's not big. It's maybe about this big, but it's done in like 10 minutes. And I'm like, that is the least realistic 3D printing I've ever seen. And it's clearly like 0.1 layer height because it's really fine detail as well. Though I love the fact that it's a Creality. Like they show the label, like it's not like hidden or anything. Like it's very clear, like you can see exactly what printer it is. But the fact that, because they're on the clock, like this is very much they are on the clock. There's literally a clock kind of that they refer to multiple times. So you know that it took like 10, 15 minutes tops for this print. And I was like,
Nah.
yeah, that's,
I do not
that would have
doubt.
taken 4 hours. Like that little piece of plastic at that tiny layer height would have definitely taken hours.
But it's in the future,
because
right?
people
So
think it's
you
fast.
never know. Hollywood magic.
Oh yeah, lots of Hollywood magic there. But yeah, the time, the amount of time it takes to print something, I definitely think is one of those things that if you don't know 3D printing at all, yeah, you definitely underestimate that. I still underestimate it sometimes. I'm like, yeah, this will take a couple hours. Oh, 8 hours.
And I'm super impatient.
Yeah.
So like I'll sort of like stick something in Cura and I'll get an estimate and I'll be like, I'm spending 10 hours printing that. Like
We only need 2 walls.
it
It'll
doesn't
be
need all
fine.
that infill. Like yeah, just like strip it all out.
Wonder if
strip it
that
all out,
overhang
print
will
it Bars
print.
mode. I don't give a yeah.
So what you need to get your
doesn't need
hands on
supports.
the resin printer that uses oxygen to like make it so it's continuous.
Yes. Yeah.
And it can print in like a 1/10 of the time or something. Like that's
would be
clearly
incredible.
that's clear. I mean, to be fair, I think we all could
Yeah, we
benefit
all
from
need that.
because we're all a little impatient. But that it sounds like that would be right up your street. And
For sure. I mean, like I want all the machines.
Yeah.
I'm desperate for a laser cutter as well because like lasers compared to 3D printing are really fast because they just kind of because it's 2D. it's like doing one layer of a 3D print, except that like you can then assemble it afterwards and it's done.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, London, small flat, poor ventilation, like.
Probably not the best
See, you
spot.
and I, we have the same problems. We have the same problems.
You two should start a makerspace, clearly.
In fairness, we've got like a makerspace in Wembley, not too far from where I am, but it's been closed for most of
course, yeah.
Yeah, actually, somewhat
Current
hilariously enough,
pandemic.
I had just gotten my application to the South London makerspace because that's the one that's closest to me. I'd just gotten my application through, like, I think the second week of March.
No.
And I was like,
God damn it. Bad timing.
So I've never even seen it.
I mean, like, there's never
I've
a
never
good
even seen
time
it.
for a pandemic, but like, that's an especially bad time for a pandemic.
Yes.
Never a good time. Never a good time for a pandemic. Okay, because apparently we're well in tangenty today. I love the fact that you were clearly very much one of those people that doesn't necessarily have like a thing that is like you do this thing and this thing only. You do lots of things. You're like us. You do lots of things.
That's a very polite way of saying I'm incredibly distractible.
Actually, again, we're literally all exactly the same. So like there's no insult
Magpies.
involved. But I want to know kind of what your favorite skill is. Like the thing that you can do. What is your favorite thing that you can do?
Because I actually think my favorite thing is
But not necessarily the thing you're best, but the thing you like most.
And like,
Put
I
physics in
think
stuff.
one of the things that I really like is just trying to get two things that shouldn't be together to be together. Like, that came out wrong.
Creativity, in essence, is your
that
thing.
came out wrong. I mean,
No,
two
I got you.
technologies.
I mean, I
Like,
definitely
okay,
thought about a
let's just
Chimera,
rewind this
but
conversation.
like definitely
Anyway,
don't be a biologist.
Alchemy aside.
Yeah. I think my favorite project that I ever made was the Uber shoes.
Ah, yes.
So I made a pair of shoes that call you an Uber when you click your heels together 3 times.
Yes. That is.
And I was just like,
Just-
Uber, shoes, electronics. I mean, electronics and shoes probably shouldn't, like, it started raining when I was filming with those, and it was like, we're going to have to cut this short. Like,
Yeah.
Oh,
it's kind of a bad idea, but it's also kind of a brilliant idea.
I love it so
I just
much.
like making technology that shouldn't go together, into a project.
What's that process like? Like when you have things that not really are diametrically opposed, but are almost there, like things that normally wouldn't match. How do you bring them together?
These
like,
things don't
what
go
is
together.
that? What's your workflow like? Where do you get your inspiration from? Like, I don't know. Yeah. What's that like?
I have no idea.
How do you work?
How do you work?
But yeah, how do you work? I asked myself the same question when I was writing for New Scientist, when I was doing the column, the original column, because I wrote another one afterwards, but the original, it was like, after I'd made the rubber duck device for running your bath, I was like, oh, do you know what? I think my thing is finding a really overcomplicated way to solve a problem that doesn't really exist.
Yeah.
And that just became like my MO for the whole column. I was like, right, I'm just going to find a problem that doesn't exist and I'm going to solve it badly. And it's going to be a lot of fun.
I think it's a great premise.
That's kind of your YouTube channel too. It has a bit of that as well, like the toilet roll thingy. And yeah. Yeah, it's awesome.
Exactly. Yeah. I made like this super dangerous cake cutting robot. So it's like, well, you've got a cake and, you've got some friends over and you want to all have like the same amount of cake. Why not get a robot to slice the cake? You just put how many people it is and it'll calculate the angle and it'll slice up the cake.
Yeah.
But
and
also
this totally works perfectly.
Put knives on robots. Yeah, I didn't just like obliterate several cakes before. Definitely not.
Oh, so many cakes
and
died.
I made a coaster that tweets cat pictures if you drink too much. So it measures the number of times that you're like lifting your glass, and if it's to try and stop you from drunk tweeting. So if you shouldn't be drunk tweeting, you know, if you picked up your glass one too many times, it starts spamming Twitter with cat pictures until you get put in Twitter jail.
I love it. I love
I gotcha.
So Twitter actually puts...
You can't incriminate yourself.
Oh, this is genius. This is so good. I love this.
You can tell that's not a thing that I've done because I'm like, but why would that stop you? And then you're like, Twitter jail. Oh,
yeah.
yes.
If you talk
Twitter
too much
jail.
or like too
Sense
many
now.
things, Twitter's like, enough. Stop acting like a robot. Yeah.
But I had to find out exactly how many cat pictures I had to spam it with to get it into Twitter jail. But that number keeps on changing. So you have to like keep it updated
Oh,
so
wow.
that, you know, so that your coaster has the exact right number of cat pictures to get you banned from Twitter.
I feel like you just got to go with something really absurd, and then you'll be okay.
And just infinite
Then you
cat
won't have to
pictures.
worry.
Just, you know.
Yes. Just until
Like
it's
you have to break the coaster to stop it. Like, yeah.
amazing.
The nuclear option, like
Oh, I love these so much. And your 2020 series of videos for like all the 2020 problems and just like saying goodbye to 2020, to put it politely,
I like
have
the
just
cheese.
been
Oh,
so
that was
good.
good fun.
Yeah.
That was so much fun. Oh,
Yeah.
because our sort of code name for the project was Burn 2020.
Yeah.
And I was like, it's kind of a bit obvious to just set it on fire. Like, what other ways can you burn stuff? And I was like, I could roast it. I could roast 2020. It could be
And
cheese.
then eat it.
Cheese. Yeah.
And then it could be cheese. Why not cheese? And that gave me an excuse to experiment with lots of different kinds of cheese.
That's
And
always
see
a
which
good
one
experiment.
was the best for carving and skewering. So
Science.
There
Important
was
science.
something so inherently British about it to me. Like that's the thing. Like I felt like there was just the image of you sat outside, cold, roasting
Exactly.
cheese.
It's very Wallace and
So
Gromit.
that said 2020 so that you could
Big
demolish
inspiration,
it. Like I don't know, there was something about it that felt very like perfectly British, and I loved it. It was so good. And then I wanted cheese.
And I
of
think
course.
one of my favorite things as well was just that, like, in the background, you could just hear cars going past. And, like, the portion
Because
of it that I
London.
put in the video, it's just, like, just cars, and there's me there with my fake wine, because I was filming in the morning.
Oh, was it real
Illusion
wine?
shattered.
Yeah. I totally thought you were just
Peek
getting
behind the
a bit
curtain.
pissed and roasting cheese, you know? And filming.
That was the idea, yeah, but then it was a bit early.
Illusions.
I mean,
'Cause I had to
obviously.
do it earlier to make sure I had the light for filming.
I
and
was
then
just gonna
like,
say,
actually,
you
I can't
actually film
operate
in
a
the evening.
camera, so yeah, I had to make do. So it is actually just food coloring water, and I was like, it's gonna look dead suspicious if the level of fluid in the glass doesn't go down at all. So I'll have to drink it during the thing, and I'd just like kind of thrown it together, started filming, and I was in the middle of a take, and I was like, oh god, this tastes bad.
Oh no.
Oh no!
So the kind of like pursed lipped expression is not just like me being sour about 2020. It's me like choking down food
I'm
coloring.
definitely gonna have to rewatch this. This is too good.
Yeah, now I kind of want to as well, because I don't remember seeing that. But I may have been paying too close attention to the mechanism, other than
cheese.
And the
than
cheese.
Your
The cheese
Very
was the star of the
distracting.
show.
I do really like cheese. I must confess that I love cheese. So yeah, no, I was
Cheese is a great
distracted.
pleasure in everyone's life. Yeah.
Yes.
But no, that was fantastic. That video was great.
Well, thank you. I definitely like including snacks. I think like, you know, food in videos, that's another big thing. Like cake cutting robot, and the second column that I wrote for New Scientist, it was kind of a more direct kind of tutorial series. And the idea was for people who had never made anything before to be able to build their first robot. And I just really like this idea of it being like a series that was in parts. And if you did each project and followed along, then at the end of it, you'd make something that you wouldn't have expected that you'd be able to make by the end of it.
That's always
and
good.
so I was like, we need a really fun project for like the capstone project, the thing that's going to sell the whole series that like people are going to want to make at the end. And my idea was Biscuit Bot.
Biscuit.
So it was this little autonomous line-following robot, and the idea was when you've got your hands full with cups of tea, you've got Biscuit Bot to bring the biscuits, and it will
Genius.
follow you with the biscuits.
Oh my god, it's genius. Yes.
Yeah.
And just like
this is
Faye
very
was saying
important.
about like a British sensibility about projects, I think that's probably like
No,
peak
that's not
British.
That is, yeah.
That is peak.
Yeah.
Biscuit bot.
Biscuit. That is
That is peak British.
perfect. I need this in my life. This is perfect.
Yeah, what happened to Biscuit Bot? Why is he not on store shelves?
Biscuit bot is in bits in the things that might one day be useful box along with
He's the
fish.
copper wire. Oh, no, you mentioned the robot. Yeah. Aw.
Yeah, you did say half a
No,
robot, I think.
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
right.
So he got cannibalized.
It's
Quite a lot of my projects end up getting taken apart so that I can use the parts for something else.
that is kind of
That's
rather
actually
than,
really
like,
good, though.
buying a whole bunch of servos
Yeah.
again. I like to recycle. So
that seems like the,
but what
Yeah,
that means
you're
is
very
I've got
green.
like half of Biscuit bot and
yeah.
I try when I'm not like running the bath 20 times to take videos of ducks,
It all equals out. It all
Yeah,
equals out.
exactly.
in the end.
Exactly.
I do love that about electronics, though, that it can sort of come apart. Like, yeah, I would love to get more into electronics, but it is mildly terrifying to me. But I do like that, yeah, you can reuse the parts and just, you just upload a different image to the Raspberry Pi or whatever, and it does something totally different. Like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Or just
I think you're
completely
so right,
disassemble
like
and reassemble it into something else. Like, it's these components that continue to exist, whether they're together or apart.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't turn into something else. Like a 3D print. Obviously, once you print it, it's not filament anymore. Like, it's a print then.
Yeah.
And yes, you can technically
It's that kind of
recycle it
irreversible
and turn it into
change,
filament.
yeah.
Yeah.
But like, we can't do that. Like, that has to be done by somebody else. So the fact that you can take something, take a bunch of components, build it, be done with it, take it apart again, and then repurpose all those components into something else, and you can do that entirely on your own without a third party. That is that's pretty cool. I
It's
like
quite
that.
appealing.
It's really
It's like
great. Yeah. No, it's a
Lego.
it's Lego for grown-ups. Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
I was gonna be like, it's like Lego with
absolutely.
more lights.
Absolutely. Glowing Lego.
Did you?
But I think
Oh, sorry, no.
I was just going to say, I completely agree with you about it being like there's a huge barrier to entry with electronics. Like, I don't know what it is,
Very
but it's
scary.
just so terrifying if you've never done it. There's just like this learning curve, and it's so steep. And I mean, so I came to it from
Feels like a
background of
high
having done a
probability
physics
of
degree.
breaking things.
Yeah, I think
Irreparably.
that's it.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't want to blue
Yeah.
smoke, and soldering irons are very hot, and I don't know, like the whole thing is just. And I'm like, how do I
and
work
if
out how much
you-
power
if you
I
plug
need
something
to
in
supply
wrong,
to it?
it
And
just might blow everything out.
yeah,
You know, like,
break it
yeah.
all. Yeah, it's all that.
Help
I think
us.
there's actually a
Help us,
lot
Sensei.
less that you can do wrong than you think you can. I think the fear of it is definitely much worse than like the actually going ahead and doing it. And I like recommend people just go and blow up a capacitor or two just to get it out of your system. Like, it's fine. Make the magic smoke. You know, nothing bad happens. You live to see another day. Like, you know, I mean, when I made Biscuit Bot, like the first time I made him, the battery case was a bit dodgy, and I shorted a couple of batteries, and I was just sat there and I was kind of fiddling with the code, and I was kind of like looking over and I was like, what's that smell? I know that smell. That's the smell of shorting batteries. That's the smell of, oh God, switch it off.
How have you not scorched your cats? Because like that would be a
I
genuine
genuinely
concern of
don't know.
mine.
My favorite joke at the minute is hardest thing I've ever had to remove from my print bed. You know, people talk about different materials, and it's like, you know, some of them adhere better than others, and some of them are really difficult to get loose after you've printed with them. Hardest thing I've ever had to remove from my print bed, cats. They just love sitting on it, and they just won't leave it alone.
It's warm.
Like, mine, obviously not while it's like printing, you know, it's monitored at all times while it's dangerous, but you know, just in the evenings, then I'm sat here working, they'll just jump on the 3D printer and just sit there and do their thing. I'm like, do you
I'm
mind?
so grateful. I'm so grateful that mine are little scaredy shits, and that they've seen it move. They know that it moves, and so therefore it's
Oh, and that's enough to
scary.
spook them.
Yeah.
No
Like
way.
they'll circle it, but they won't get on it.
And do you want to
So,
swap cats?
Swap cats.
I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful because I was very much
I'll mail
expecting
you
that
mine.
experience.
No, mine
I
are
was
dreadful.
expecting this.
Oh man,
I know.
I love my cats so much, but they are awful. They are horrible, like conniving little creatures.
And yet you
they
have not
deliberately
set them
set
on
out-
fire or
I've
sorted them
managed
with electronics.
somehow, yeah. It's kind of
Somehow.
magic because
They're so cute.
like Maisie, oh god, Maisie just like she gets involved in every project I do. Like I had a project where I was putting like a load of fake ivy on a shelf, and I had a load of little pots, and the different pots were different colors. And when you lifted one of the pots, it would turn the lights in the room the same color as the pot that you lifted.
So good.
And I was
That's
like
so
trying
cool.
to set this up. I was trying to set it up, but like Maisie just decided that the ivy was hers, and she needed to play with it. She had to chew it, and she had to pull one end of it off the shelf while I was trying to put the other end on, and she would not get out of the room. And the thing is, she's so smart. I can't even bribe her, because if I start trying to bribe her, she knows that she's doing something she's not meant to be doing, which means that it's probably
She just
really
wants it more.
fun.
Yep. This
Conniving
is
is
genuinely
right.
the
Yeah.
problem with cats, is that they're actually it's not an issue of them being dumb. It's an issue of them being smart. And you can't just bribe them or lure them away. Like they're basically like smart children. Like their intelligence only goes so far, obviously, because they're still animals. But like the amount of logic they're able to apply to stuff, because my cats are the same way. Like just like, yeah, like as soon as they figure out that something is an interesting thing, and like they're almost like little mini scientists. I don't know if yours do this, but like if they can replicate a situation more than once, then they're like, okay, this is a fact now. And so when I do this, this thing happens. And if I like this, the result of this, then I can do it again. And I'll get, and the thing will happen. And like, I've watched this happen so many times that it's kind of like, yeah, y'all are, you know what you're doing. You're actually fact checking here. And so, yeah, so if there's a fun thing, if there's a fun thing, and it's kind of like, you're like, oh, I must bribe you away. And they're like, okay, so I do the fun thing, and then I get a food.
Yeah,
The fun thing again.
exactly.
And then I'll get another food. And this is just a cool,
I see a link
like,
between these two. Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
absolutely. But it sounds like you've got two smart cats. So I've
Yeah,
got one very
yeah.
smart cat, and I've got one very dumb cat. And it's adorable. Like, I love them both equally.
They're precious.
But Maisie is a little terror, and Magna is a little dum-dum. And she's so sweet. And she can be bribed. She can be, let out of a room.
Because
She can
she's
just be
dumb.
picked up under one arm and just like put somewhere, and she'll just kind of sit there and not really know how she got there. Like, she's fine.
Fanta.
She's great. But like Maisie is a
known
little
cats like
terror because
that.
she's figured out that she can bat things off the shelf and they'll land on people's heads. So if you're 10 minutes late feeding her dinner, she'll jump on the shelf and start dropping little plant pots on your head.
Wow.
Because she knows it'll get a result.
I've never had cats, but I feel like they're like tiny, terrible housemates. Like, that are really
they can be
cute. So
terrible.
it kind of pays off. Like, I
They
don't
can
know.
also
They
be just the
seem
loveliest.
Slightly evil.
Like, admittedly, like I'm looking around to
That's
see if
exactly
my
right.
shadow is here, and she's not right now. But like, there is something that is absolutely just the sweetest and loveliest about being followed around by a tiny little precious ball of fluff who will have a conversation with you in like the most melodious tones. I don't know. She actually has the most beautiful meow I've ever heard. I've owned cats all my life, and I've had cats that had terrible sounds come out of their mouth, and she is just like very melodious. And so she'll just walk around with me, and she'll have a conversation with me, and it's like
That's so
really really
sweet.
nice. And she will also knock things off my vanity at 4 a.m. because she wants my attention.
She wants to
So, like-
play. Because she's bored.
She just wants attention.
Because you can't sleep
She wants
anymore because
attention.
she wants you. Yeah, no, exactly.
This is why earplugs exist.
Yeah.
This is why they were invented.
Yeah.
That's how we survived this. But yeah, cats are super smart, and you've got two gorgeous little nuggets that like to help.
Yeah. I feel like there should be some maker solution to like all the problems that cats bring. I mean, like, I built them a cat tower and I thought that
Might
was
be.
like enough, but no.
No.
I
It
don't
will
think there is
never
any
be
maker
enough.
solution to the problem of cats because like they just want to be doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
So if you're making something, they have to be involved. And like, oh God, like I have this like a box of just sort of half finished prints or failed prints. And there's always like bits of plastic kind of like poking out of the edges of the box. It's their favorite thing. They go straight for it and start chewing on the end of the plastic. And I'm like, you shouldn't have that. Please stop. But I can't
Thankfully,
punish you
it's
for it
non-toxic.
because, which is good, but it's still so annoying when they're like trailing it around the house and you're like, I don't want to take it off you because then you'll know it's naughty and you'll do it again. So I've just got to try and ignore you. But like, I'm actually quite worried that you're going to swallow that.
Oh,
Yep.
no.
So you kind of like, you grab a toy and you go like, oh, the toy is over there. How did it get there? Are you distracted yet? Quick.
Yep. You gotta find the better toy. That is definitely the trick. You have to have the better toy.
We were
Sorry, not a tangent.
I was
on cats and then...
I'm so sorry.
You obviously got.
Sorry, am I the most disastrous guest you've had so far?
No, it's great. We're always a bunch of tangents. We've said this like a lot now. We're always
Yeah,
I'm
tangents.
trying to think of something technological to say again in a minute.
You've seen.
You're familiar.
I was going to ask though, because this would be helpful to me, totally selfishly. You like obviously acknowledge that there's a barrier to entry, like a bit of fear around getting into electronics. How did you get past it? Like, what was it because you had to learn it for work, or like was there someone who like how did you get past it really?
It was exactly that. Like I accidentally found myself in a position where I was being paid to do it weekly and I had no idea how to do it and I was too embarrassed to admit that. And like I'd say that's a great shortcut, but I wouldn't necessarily recommend it.
Fair. Yep.
That's
it was
fair.
like a kind of a stressful way to learn. So I'd recommend that if people were going to try it themselves, that they'd pick a gentler route in. But I mean, it definitely made sure I learned it really quickly.
What would a gentler route look like? Out of curiosity.
Well, there's loads
for
and
no
loads of
reason at all.
videos. Like Adafruit the Adafruit Learning Guide is really brilliant. They've got loads and loads of example projects. They're really well documented, and they've got like loads of example code that you can download. But just getting started, because I think it just sounds so scary before you do something. But as soon as you start hooking it up and you've got like an LED blinking, you're like, I am a master of electronics. I am a wizard. I have created light. Just like the very first program that you run.
I want to be a wizard too. This is something SJ said a few weeks ago, but I'm like, yes, I want to be a wizard too. I too want rainbow lights on my clothes. This is the thing that I really, really
That's
want.
really it. It's all about the rainbow lights.
So simple.
Yeah, it's the rainbow
It's
lights.
all about the
This
rainbow.
is mostly example code. Like most of the lighting effects on this are just like Adafruit example code. But the bit where it kind of looks a bit like an egg timer, this actually very well timed animation right now. That's the only bit of it that I coded myself, like custom coded a sort of like egg timer type thing. You can't. I mean, the effect is kind of ruined because you can't see the bottom half of like the triangle. It's meant to look like a timer, but that's the only bit that I custom coded myself. The rest of it's just example code. You just copy and paste it, stick it in, and then just put it onto the little board, and then it's magic.
So I think I get stuck. I think I'm like the code bit. I think I can get there because I know a bit of Python and like, you know, it's kind of, I think I can get there. It's the like, I don't know how to power the thing and how to work out how much power it is. And then there's the volts and the amps, and I don't like, and then every tutorial I've looked at just doesn't seem to explain how you work that out. Because I never want to do exactly the tutorial. I'll want like 11 lights instead of 5 or something. I don't know. Like it'll just be slightly different because I'm just one of those people, I guess. Maybe I should just follow a tutorial. But yeah, it's like even if I followed that tutorial, it wouldn't teach me how to do my own thing. It's like how do I work out how much power something needs and how do I work out how to get it that power and that sort of stuff that I'm just honestly, like,
that's a great question.
Yeah, I don't know. And maybe this is a question I should take offline because it's probably an involved answer, but it's like that stuff. It's like I could follow a tutorial step by step, but it wouldn't help me make my own thing. I don't know. Or maybe it would. Yeah. And I've got this illusion
involved
of it.
answer.
Okay.
The answer is really, really simple. The answer is really simple. Nobody knows.
Oh.
Everyone's pretending. And no matter what battery you use, someone will tell you it's the wrong one. So just use what the hell you like. Because it, you know, if it works, it works.
This
Okay.
is not
Calculate
reassuring.
everything, but you can calculate everything. You can calculate exactly the voltage, the current, and every point in your circuit. But like, you don't have to. Like, so an Arduino, for example, like it's a 5-volt board, so everything is kind of working on 5 volts.
That's a number. We can work with this.
But I'm powering it off a 9-volt battery right now.
That
It's got a built-in
Kinda makes
voltage
sense.
regulator. So you
Okay.
can feed it any voltage from about like 5 to 12, I think it is, and it'll
Okay.
handle that. It's maybe not the best choice because if you're giving it a higher voltage, the voltage regulator is basically burning off some of the extra energy as heat. So you're just kind of wasting some of the power that the battery's putting out. But like,
okay.
I mean, it doesn't matter. 9 volts are really easy to get hold of. I've got tons of them. They're really cheap. So
As we've
one
established,
of
you like
those
9
will power
volts.
my dress for a night. So why not use one of those? But then you'll definitely have someone like comment on your video like, oh, well, you'll get much better performance if you use I don't
Performance
care.
on my dress.
I
my
want it to
glowing
light
dress
up for a night.
Like, yeah, okay.
So just, you know, and it's like people make a lot of, you know, when you use kind of servos or motors, people will be like, oh yeah, you definitely need to power those separately to powering the board because when they start up, there's like a current spike, they draw a bit more power when they're like starting up or, you know, if they're under load. And it's like, yeah, they do, but it's momentary and it's like kind of usually doesn't damage anything. So if you're just doing it for a project and you're getting started, just plug it in. Just plug it in. If it breaks,
this
it breaks.
is why
Get a new one. They're not
we're
that
scared.
much.
I think it's also
why,
true 'cause,
why
like,
I'm terrified.
I think this is also like on a
Well, I think
personal
it's a
note.
great place to
I'm like
start.
this horrible perfectionist and I'm dealing with it and I've become a lot better in recent years. But I'm like one of those people who will like research the crap out of something before I do it so that I know that I'm doing it as well as I can at that point in time. And this actually is a disadvantage because often it means I never start things because I'm like, I can't do it perfect. So oh, it's the cat.
Yeah.
So maybe
He's
it's just
carpet
like,
swimming.
oh, cute.
Oh.
Yeah, so
Sorry.
maybe it's just like my own like hang-ups about, and maybe I should just like acknowledge that it's my own perfectionism coming through and just being like,
Yeah.
no, actually.
That there might be a lot of truth in that statement, Billy. I'm feeling called out right now.
Sorry.
I mean, maybe that means that electronics
again,
should be
we're
like a
so
really
alike.
great thing for you to do because maybe it will be like therapy.
Maybe, yeah, I can
If
practice
you can't find the
not being a
perfect battery, then you
perfectionist.
can practice like not using the perfect battery.
This is true.
'Cause, I mean, the thing that I've found is like people argue the toss about it and they're like using kind of like obscure bits that I sort of remember from my degree but sort of don't. And it's like equations. And I'm like, you could go down that route and you could like do all the maths. And like there are people who have got like electronics engineering degrees that can't decide whether it's the best battery. So I'm relatively convinced there isn't a perfect answer. And I'm waiting for all the people who are going to comment on this video telling me that there definitely is and I'm an idiot. But like my dress is lighting up right now.
Yeah, better to have a light up dress than no light up dress and just sit here in fear like me for years.
Yeah. I admittedly,
I would also say,
I have a project. Like there is a project. Like I already have it kind of like halfway planned out. I know what it is and I know at least what I want the end result to be. And every time I start to be like, okay, yeah, I could maybe start considering this. I get to the electronics bit and I'm like, and like eventually I will be able to just like call up you and Matt Gray and be like, hey, can y'all just come over and show me stuff? And then you guys can come over and show me
need a
stuff. And I
buddy.
won't cry over LEDs. But
I've been there.
now, I
I've
can't
been
do
there.
that.
don't cry over LEDs.
So.
It's bad. You might short them out.
See? And this is why I'm scared. It doesn't help that the thing I have in
I
mind
don't
is
think that
probably
helps.
going to require like at least 100 of them. But like the
That
little
sounds great.
ones, like the little neopixels,
in.
I think they're called. Like I have, because I can't possibly plan something small.
I'm
like
hearing
that's,
a collab. A collab. That's
No,
what
that
I'm
sounds-
hearing
that
right
sounds like
now.
I
a
need-
great idea.
I need
I am
help.
so here for this. Because, you know,
and I
I've
need hand holding.
got like 100 more of these things, like somewhere. but I don't use these. These were a bad idea. These ones, because
Okay.
I always try and do my projects on a budget, and it's always a bad idea. Instead of, so like NeoPixels, like usually you can get them
The
in
ones
like
on the
strips.
strips, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
The
and you
strips.
can get individual ones as well. And the individual ones, like they've often got like holes that you can sew through. So if you're making wearables,
That's
like
very
you've
cool.
actually got
That's
convenient
super cool.
point to attach them to fabric, which is really great. These, it was like 100 of them came on a board, and you just sort of snap one off, like when you want to use it, like they're sort of breakaway.
Oh.
But they've got like 6 solder connections on the back of every single one. So just for like the small number of LEDs that I've got on my
that's
dress
a
right
lot
now,
of
I had to
soldering.
do so much soldering.
Why is it 6?
So much soldering.
Why?
Because there's power and ground on both sides, because you've got to put power and ground in, and then it comes out
of
to
course.
connect to the next
6,
one.
I see.
And then you've got the signal wire that's carrying the, like, do you want to be on or off? And what color do you want to be signal through all of them, which is the very technical term for it.
I gotcha.
But
Yeah.
see, that I actually understand. So.
I got it. Yeah. On or off, what color? Yes, this makes sense. Yes.
I like these terms.
Yes.
These terms are good for me. This works.
Yes.
But I mean, I definitely recommend, if you're looking for a place to start with sort of like electronics, microbit. Like, I'm a bit of an evangelist for the microbit, because I just think it's just such a fantastic thing, because so many of the things, the sensors and kind of peripherals that you want to use with it are already built in. And the way that you program it, it's a block-based coding language. So you just click and drag blocks. So you can get used to thinking programmatically before actually
That's
having
good.
to write the syntax. And then if you want to progress to actually writing in code, there are other ways to program the microbit. So you can try and make the same code, but in like Python or you know, a different language.
I got to solder and code.
Not with a microbit. It already has things. That's what.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
Not with the microbit. Yeah.
This is a
The
lot.
microbit, it's all like, have I got any? Oh, they're miles away in that cupboard somewhere. But the microbit, usually you just use kind of crocodile clips to attach anything. And most of the time in my projects, I'm barely attaching anything, because most of the stuff's built in. It's got an accelerometer, it's got a temperature sensor. You know, it's
The iPhone
super
of
functional.
electronics. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
it's so easy to use, and it's just like, it's surprising how much you can do with just this one tiny board. And they communicate with each other really well as well. So they communicate over radio, so you can kind of send a signal between two of them. And then that makes it really easy to make kind of projects where you've got like something sensing something somewhere and something displaying it somewhere else. I mean, like I did, one of the projects I did for New Scientist, I called it the cleaning shame frame. And I had like one microbit that was like in a frame, like in a room, and the other microbit was attached to the Hoover. And basically, it would show how many days it had been since you last hoovered, because it used the built-in accelerometer on the microbit
I actually
on the
need
one
that.
Hoover.
I need this. This is the best. That's such a good idea.
Yeah, actually.
This is like, you
It
can make
wouldn't
so
reset
many
until you'd, like-
ADHD-friendly tools like this. Things like a dashboard, and you could like gamify
think
just
about it
like
like that,
taking
but
care
that's
of yourself.
brilliant, yeah.
Oh, this is great. Okay.
Yeah,
microbits.
now I'm like, I
We're just
really
gonna
want a
fill
board.
Billy's house with microbits.
like a chore
We're just gonna
chart,
put like
but
one
like,
on everything that
yeah.
like, she owns.
Yeah, like cleaning and doing the washing. If I had a washing machine one, oh my god, the washing would get
be
done.
great.
It would. Like if I,
Yeah, like
this is,
if you could put one
Oh
on
my
the
god,
door.
petition to send Billy like a crate of microbits.
I am so excited. I am gonna gamify my life. Okay, microbits.
Is this
I'm going to
going to
get
be your
these.
electronics project then, Billy? Is this
Maybe.
going to be it?
Yeah, like gamify my.
Please, I want to see this.
Yeah. Okay, I'm legit inspired. This is
I
exciting.
mean, you need to have like your scoreboard in the background all the time.
Yeah, like this many days
We'll be like, good
since I did
job.
the washing. Yeah,
No,
seriously,
honestly,
that would
that's
work. It would work.
Genius.
It would
That's
work.
really genius. I can't believe that this doesn't exist. Someone is
Yeah.
missing a trick. Someone is
And like,
missing
I love
a trick.
RFID tags as well. Like putting RFID tags on stuff so that like you can scan them with your phone, because you can get like, you can make things happen automatically when your phone scans like an NFC tag. You know, like those kind of, I don't know if they don't seem to have them so much anymore, but like billboards or like signs at bus stations, and they have like, oh, like put your phone here, and it takes you to a website or it makes something happen. You can like write some code fairly easily or kind of integrate it with a service like if this then that, so that if you have RFID tags around your house and then you can put your phone down on them, you can make it do stuff like turning on the lights or like logging something in a
Emptying the
timetable or
dishwasher.
setting a reminder.
Yes.
And that can be like a really useful way to like gamify your life as well.
I'm doing it. I'm so excited.
You admittedly, I'd completely forgotten about those tags, and and now that you've said that, I just remembered that I am actually familiar with those, and I have actually done a thing with them, though I can hardly call it a project because it was much more how I could effectively have 250 pounds worth of amiibos for 5 pounds worth of the tags. What are they called again?
RFID? No,
not the RFID ones. The
NFC.
NFC.
NFC, yes, the NFC. Because basically, so the amiibos, the Nintendo amiibos, they have an NFC tag in them. And so you can actually scan the amiibos on the Switch, and it will do stuff. Like, depending on the game, it will do stuff. And in particular, Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, you get literally a treasure chest falls from the sky when you scan an amiibo. And you get unique stuff. And as it turns out, because they're tricksy bastards, they made there be a whole bunch of special outfits for Link that you could only get from certain amiibos, which means that you got to go and spend 250 bucks to buy all the amiibos to get all of the stuff. And then I learned that you could effectively hack NFC chips to make the Switch think that they were amiibos. And then I did that.
Got all the outfits.
Fantastic.
So instead of having a pile of plastic toys, I just had like a little bag of NFC chips. And I'd labeled them, because obviously the different amiibos give you different things. And so I'd labeled them appropriately. And I would just sit there and I'd just scan them into the game with treasure chests just falling on Link.
Love it.
It was
So what did you use? Did you use a phone, like a phone app to read the NFC
so
tags? That's so cool.
I managed to basically get the code from the amiibos, and then took the code and wrote it to the NFC chips with my phone. And then they were it was actually remarkably simple. It was not something I'd ever done before, but it was like, oh,
that's
obviously
genius.
We're literally
laziness is the mother of invention.
So this is particularly relevant. But
don't spend the 250, probably even more at this point, because I don't even think they make them anymore. Like, I think half of them are like special edition, so you'd be paying even more absurd amounts of money for it.
You could go on eBay and buy the like £400 like collector's edition or something.
Spend £5 on NFC chips. Just make sure they're the right ones, because I think there's like two different kinds.
So you have like
basically you could 3D print them. You could 3D print your own amiibos, and then like actually have them.
Yeah,
that'd be huge.
As opposed to a bag of,
or just
NFC
something better
chips.
than amiibos. You could just like have like a little Faye.
Yes.
Instead, and you just like scan the little Faye.
Yes.
That would be way cooler.
Yes.
Yeah.
But yes, I am.
Sorry.
It's a good game, so yeah, I'm a fan.
It's really good.
Yeah.
But speaking of NFC tags and RFID, something that I think a lot of my followers might not know about me is that I am part cyborg.
Oh, do you have one in your?
I'm gonna see if I can. You might be able to.
Oh yeah.
See it moving around.
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
You can just about see it.
Cool.
Whoop.
What is it?
It's a little RFID tag. So the same way that you were scanning those NFC tags with your phone, I can scan my hand.
Like with,
what does it
you know,
do?
like with dogs, how you have the little chip in the dogs or cats.
It's basically exactly
Are
what
you
it is.
chipped?
Yeah.
Put it in your hand.
Microchipped the same way as my cats.
Yeah. It's like that, Faye. It's like ceramic or something, or I don't know. It's like plastic. I don't know. It's like not gonna kill you. And
I think this one in particular is bioglass.
Ah, Cool.
See, admittedly, like the physical having it underneath your skin isn't weird to me at all. I've known people with all sorts of body mods, so like that's not particularly weird. It's the fact that it's an RFID. What does it do? What does it do?
To be perfectly honest, I really want to be able to say it's so cool and I use it for everything, but it's pretty useless.
That's what I hear from a few people.
It's basically a party trick because I get people to like scan my hand with their phones and it leads to my website that I haven't built yet.
genius.
Actually,
Get around to
100%
building.
legit.
Yeah, I like that.
That's totally legit. But
But
also,
like,
how
I just
did
feel
you
like
get
that's
it?
the best kind of like maker introduction. Oh god, New Scientists do a like live show every year, New Scientist Live, and we just have like a bunch of speakers doing like cool talks and a bunch of stands where like, you know, scientists or companies connected to science and technology like come and show stuff, and it's like a really I sound like I'm basically trying to make people buy tickets, and I'm not sponsored, but it is great. And I went one year, and there was I feel really bad because I've forgotten his name, but he runs a website called Dangerous Things, and he's like a biohacker, biomodder, and like has a whole bunch of different RFID implants, and I think he's got magnet implants as well, and he sells all of these on his online shop. And he was doing a talk at New Scientist Live with a friend of mine, Frank Swain from New Scientist, who is best known for being the man that can hear Wi-Fi, because he hacked his hearing aids and wrote some code that would mean that he could hear Wi-Fi. So every Wi-Fi network that was around him, his hearing aids would translate the ID of the network into a melody, and the volume of that melody would change depending on the signal strength. So like as he was coming home, he'd be able to hear the melody of his home network getting louder as he was like approaching the house.
That is
when he was in public, he said it was like deafening because there were just all these different Wi-Fi networks that he could hear. So he was giving a talk on different ways to augment your senses and, you know, and mod. And there were other people on stage with him talking about magnet implants and like RFID implants. And me and Frank got talking to a few of them after, and they were like, well, we've got a few spare packs of the like RFID ones.
Do you want to do it just right now?
Like, should we like do it on stage? And health and safety were like, absolutely fucking not. So you are not doing it on the stage at the show. No. So instead, we went back to his hotel room and got injected with RFID chips. Because that wasn't dodgy at all.
No, that sounds super normal. Was it like getting your ears pierced a little bit?
Pretty much, yeah. It's a big hollow needle that just has, I mean, this thing is, you've seen how big it is. It's like a particularly big grain of rice. So they just have a big hollow needle and they poke it in there and kind of let it go. But I've not got very much fat in my hand at all, so you can actually see the outline of mine like quite clearly in the right lighting.
I think that's incredibly cool, actually. I think that's
I love
very
just like
future
doing that and freaking people out with it. But yeah,
that's very very 2021.
When you scan it with a phone, it'll like lead to my website. But the thing is, like, it's because it's such a small chip, and like I think I must have like super radio attenuating flesh or something, because like it's actually quite hard to scan. And I was gutted because the like door lock at the makerspace that I'm a member of, you use RFID like cards to get in. You can program it to accept like your Oyster card.
I was just gonna say, is it Oyster RFID? Oh man, if you could use your hand as an Oyster card,
no, because it has to be issued by TfL,
I
Transport for
remember
London.
seeing that.
Because they have all the ID numbers of the cards that they're issuing, so it won't work with. I mean, also I'm not sure if they work on a different frequency because there's a couple of different like kinds of RFID and NFC.
Yeah, you'd have to literally get a chip out of a
but
card, wouldn't you? And then like insert the chip in your.
There was a guy
that's how other people have made
owls.
interesting oyster hacks with magic wands and stuff like that. But
that's fun.
it might be a bit much to insert one in your body.
Yeah, there was a guy here who cloned like the Oyster equivalent, and cloned it to his one in his hand. And everyone was like, oh, that's so cool. But then the like people who, like the transport group that make all that happen got real mad about it because I don't think they really understand it. They thought he was like cheating the system. They didn't realize that he was still paying for it.
Paying.
He was just using the
he was still
number.
paying.
No,
Like
I
he just
put money
cloned.
on my hand.
Yeah,
I put
so
money
like
on my
they
hand.
thought he had
I
somehow
popped up my
cheated the
hand.
system and it was like fake money and that he was like ripping them off, which he wasn't. He was just using that as the access point. In it, and they like cancelled his card, but actually didn't cancel his card, cancelled someone else's, and it was just like this colossal fuck up, which is just so typical of that transport body. Like it was so ridiculous. But yeah, at least the ones here, you're able to clone. Well, you were a year.
I should look into that. Maybe there is a way of me getting my oyster on there.
That would be kind of cool.
There you go. That's a future project when traveling is a thing again.
Yeah, I think because judging by how hard it is to scan sometimes, like even if I'm like scanning it with a phone,
you kind of have to.
I usually have to have the case off, and I have to know whereabouts the reader.
I can totally just imagine you like contorting yourself, like trying to get it to scan
it would be
your hand,
and everyone's getting mad behind you.
Trying to get on the bus, like sorry.
Yep. Yeah, because this is London and everyone is in a huge hurry at all times. So like people would be getting mega pissed off.
You're holding up the queue, and British people love their queues.
Great.
And
it would be so good. I'd enjoy that so much. I would enjoy that so much.
I like imagine trying to explain that as well when they're like, "What the hell are you doing?" And it's like, "I'm just trying to scan my hand.
Scanning my oyster. In my hand
that lives here."
They'd be like, "Oh, this crazy person."
Yeah,
yeah, no, that's exactly what they think. They'd just be like, "All right, you need to go sleep it off." That is the coolest bit of trivia I think we've ever gotten about a guest. Like,
no way.
You're cybernetic. I love it. Again, it's very 2021.
Very.
Because we just live in the future. So like clearly if people are not writing hover skateboards and getting bits of, data implanted into them, then what are we even doing with ourselves in the future? So you're clearly doing it right. And
the glide up clothing. I don't think there's anything more cyberpunk than glide up
no,
clothing. You are like personally willing the future into existence.
Oh man,
I'm just wearing a jumper. Like,
I do my best. No, but like you've even got your like dress form in the background. Like the pair of you make the most like beautiful, amazing like wearable
naked,
stuff.
Though.
I just like somebody else made this dress. I just poked holes in it and like stuffed some light stuff.
That's a cute
amazing
dress,
to me. I love it. Yes, it is awesome. It is very awesome. Oh, this is so good.
I was gonna say I don't sew everything I wear. Like I absolutely buy clothes.
Nor do I.
I don't put lights in everything
capacity,
either, but
like, just because I have the capacity to sew stuff doesn't mean I sew stuff. Hardly ever. So
I mean, like the time it takes as well.
It is hugely underestimated how much time it takes to make an item of clothing. Like when you see shirts for $5 at the supermarket, the chain shops, and you like know how much, like when you physically have made a shirt like that, and you're like, wow, people are being.
You're like, I'm
like
hurt and insulted.
Yeah, this is like you're like, wow, I really don't want to think about the other person the other person on the end of that line is like, ooh. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
sorry.
That's a
took a turn to the dark, but yeah.
Thing,
sorry, no, you go. You go.
I was probably gonna say the same thing you were gonna say, so go right ahead.
Oh, okay. I was gonna ask you, Hannah, like, are there any projects that you really, really enjoyed that like just didn't kind of get the recognition that you thought you were sort of expecting, I suppose? Like, are there any projects you just want to give another go of,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to get eyes on it again.
I think, like, I'll mention the Uber shoes again, because I was just like, that's my favorite thing I think I've ever done. But
amazing.
Like, I suppose they were like popular-ish at the time, but it's just like nobody knows I did them now. So I just kind of want to keep reminding people, like, I made these really cool shoes.
Really cool.
As you should.
Yeah.
As you should. Self-promotion is difficult.
Yeah.
You shout.
I keep on thinking I should try and do like a new version of them and like try and do them again, because they were like, one of the first projects like I made back when like I didn't really know what making was. and it would be
3D
really fun
printed
to do
shoes
a do-over.
would help.
Exactly. Because then, you know,
That
you can
they-
make them
with
a bit
slots
more
for the electronics.
waterproof. So you got space to put the electronics, so it wasn't just me taking a Dremel to an ordinary pair of shoes and then hot gluing them back together.
Yeah.
You know, if I could make it in a like a bit more grown up way, I think that would be really fun.
That'd be awesome.
I think Naomi did something ages ago, so, like not exactly the same, but basically that involved 3D printed shoes with an Arduino or some sort of tech inside the platform of the shoe. Because I think it was for
yeah,
for
no, I
pin
can totally
testing.
imagine that.
Yeah, I think she was pin testing a building or a company or something like that, and she'd basically 3D printed shoes that she could put hacking tools inside without them being noticeable. And I hope I'm not misremembering this, and I'm so sorry if I am. But I seem to recall that was a thing. And so yeah, obviously, if you like 3D print, like
That's very
that's
on
the thing. They
brand
got to
for
be
her,
like
so-
platform shoes, so there's enough room for the stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that platform shoes, you can totally walk in like 6-inch platforms, right?
To be honest, that would be great because I'm like 5 foot on a good day. So like an extra few inches of heels would be
Bless
like
you. We can never
That would
make
be
a
really
video
handy.
together. You'd have to
yeah, we
stand on
couldn't
a
get us both in frame at the
stool.
same time. you could just kneel down, Faye.
A
Or we
seated
could just
one.
That might
Just
actually
get
make
out
me
of the
the same
table.
height as
That's
you.
another
Yeah.
option. Like,
This is the problem, right? Since everyone's only hanging out on video, no one has any idea of each other's heights. And then the pandemic's gonna end, and I'm gonna people are gonna start meeting me, and they're gonna be like, "Holy shit, you're so much taller than I thought you were," and I'm gonna be like, "Yeah."
see, at least you won't
And
get
y'all
that
are
from
so
me
cute and
because
tiny.
everyone's tall in comparison to me.
Pocket.
But you can grab things from on top of the fridge without assistance.
I can.
And that is a
I
struggle
can.
for
That
me.
that is a thing I can do. But it does mean that I'm gonna
How
go
tall are
and
you,
I'm gonna
Billy?
start doing video collaborations,
Oh.
and I'm gonna stand next to you, and the camera's not gonna be able to like it's gonna be an interesting adventure because I'm like 9 inches
We'll just have to
taller
both
than
sit
you.
down.
Yeah, sitting down. Everyone's equal at a
That's
round
it.
table.
Or like, to be honest, maybe our
Hopefully.
collaboration could be that like I'll have to make some super high tech stilts that I can wear in the video with you,
I like it.
and that would be perfect. Then if I make
This is
like like platforms with loads of tech in, and I'll just wear those when we hang out.
This is like that Michael Reeves. Have you seen the
9
Michael Reeves
inches.
video?
9 inches.
Yeah,
What's
that's
that?
kind of. There's a Michael Reeves
I'm
video.
really
He makes
tall.
really silly robots, and
Yeah.
he made this thing that electroshocks everyone else because he's a shorty too, and it electroshocks everyone else, so they start falling
Yes, I've
over
seen
at
this.
the time, and they take
Yes,
the
I've
photo,
seen this.
so that everyone ends up the same.
That's fantastic.
time. It's
It is
ridiculous.
I
It's very
promise
funny.
not to do that to you,
Absolutely
Faye.
painful. Thank you. Skeptical face. I'm gonna
Is that
start.
a taser
I'm
in your
gonna be like-
pocket, or are you just pleased to see me?
We don't need to reinvent the wheel. We can totally do stilts. I think.
yeah,
Stilts are great.
Stilts is fine.
Stilts are really.
It's
Have you ever
fine.
used stilts? When I was a kid,
As long as
It was so much
you
fun.
wear flats and I'll wear stilts, we'll be okay.
I'd have to wear flats. I have shoes that make me 6'2", so like I can't wear shoes.
A whole foot taller than me.
Yeah.
oh,
Like I said, people do not. You cannot tell. Looking at the three of us on video, we all look like we're the same size. If we stood up, we would not be the same size.
the internet, the great equalizer.
Yep. Yeah. No, it's gonna be super super fun when I get to start hanging out with people who've never met me in person.
Can't wait.
Yeah. Which it's gonna be you, Hannah.
I'm so jealous of you both. I'm gonna have to fly up there sometime and hug you both because,
That'd be amazing.
yes, that has to happen.
so
Absolutely.
good.
I hear stories that occasionally there is pretty decent sized maker fairs out in the UK. So I've heard
I've never been.
I've heard tales that they exist. Maybe.
I've heard the legends too. I have heard the legends too.
Yeah.
But
We'll have to
I've not
see.
yet
We'll have
sought
to
them
see.
out. I've not made the journey, made the quest to the Maker Faire, but like definitely.
That can be a
I
quest
can't
for
wait
all
for
of
that
us.
to be a thing again.
Yeah.
They're always in Birmingham, aren't they? It's a Birmingham thing, isn't it?
don't
Because the
know.
NEC. I'm just
Oh, that
making
would
an
make
assumption
sense,
here.
yeah.
We can do that. And the
Yeah.
Cadbury factory, which if you've never been, is a fucking acid
That's
trip.
right. That's right. This is Billy's dream.
Amazing.
So bizarre.
Oh my God.
It's the craziest
Plan.
place.
We have a plan in
Yes.
place.
Yes.
Yes.
But we
For
also have to do
an
London a bit
indeterminate-
Man,
because
I've been to Cadbury World so many times. It's so good.
Okay, I'm so
I've
glad
never been.
someone else who has been there can sympathize with it because, like, I have never had an experience
lived
like
in this
that.
country
It is
10 years.
so bizarre and, like, yeah,
Like,
crazy.
they hand you shots of melted chocolate.
This is
No,
true.
I can't believe I didn't know about this.
Of melted chocolate.
The dancing
It's
beans are what got me though.
Willy
That
Wonka.
weird train
It's
with
that
the
good.
dancing beans and the like. I was like,
Yes.
what just happened to me?
I
Yeah,
genuinely thought it was just
Oh,
like a
God.
sugar high. I was like hallucinating by that point. Like,
that's what I thought. I'm like, was there something in that chocolate? Yeah, it's amazing, Faye. We will take you. It's very strange.
It's a plan.
and there's chocolate, so it's
It
great.
is a future plan. 100%. I do feel like we are running out of time though.
Yes.
So before we
pity.
wrap up, where can people find you? Where can they see your amazing projects? Where can they follow you? This is important. Important stuff.
they can find me on Twitter and on YouTube mostly. Those are the places I hang out. I'm at Hannah Makes on both of those.
Woo!
I don't really hang out with the places because Twitter's just so good. Why would you go anywhere else?
Yeah, I can see
Screw
that.
everything else.
Take a Twitter, best Twitter, also best internet.
Best internet. Make a Twitter best internet. Yes.
Yep. The rest of the internet is a dark and scary place in comparison. So I'm with
And
you on that one.
Have you got any plans for future projects that are in the works that you can talk about? Is there anything cool?
I do. I've got a project that's going to involve some jewelry that I'm not going to say too much about, but I've got a video that I'm in the middle of making that I will show you. I will show you something from. But God knows when I'll actually get the video
Get
out. 'cause I'm
closer. I
horribly
gotta get closer to
disorganized.
see.
Yes. Ooh, it's a button on a box.
Oh.
My light's too bright. You can't see it.
Oh, what does it say? Wednesday.
Oh.
Oh,
So,
that's cool. So there's a
this-
date. What's the top?
These are the save the dates for my wedding.
Oh.
And
Great.
LEDs just like don't
Bless.
come across very well on camera, but you can just just about see that it has some words.
That is so
I can definitely see some words.
cool. Yeah. Oh,
But yeah,
congratulations.
we made
That's awesome.
we made these amazing boxes that we just like sent out in the post, and like I was all for just like sending them out like this. They're completely blank on the front. You can't see anything until you press the button and the light.
I love
comes
that.
on. So it's 3D printed, and it's basically like a lithophane but in reverse.
Yep.
So you've got the kind of
Nice.
Mystery pane.
like text in there,
on the inside.
and then you've got like
That is the
just a little
coolest.
LED and a coin cell inside, and then press the button, and that happens.
I love
But
that so much.
my partner rightly pointed out that if I just went sending those out in the post with no context, people would
might get
start
worried.
calling the bomb squad.
Yeah, maybe.
I was like, yeah, okay, I think we need
Maybe
to
a bit.
include a card with these.
Maybe.
Yeah.
So
Instructions.
I got him to design the instructions, and we did it like an IKEA manual.
Oh, that's so cute.
That's amazing. That's so
I
good.
mean, you can see my careful redacting
Yes.
of the tape.
Very good.
Very
Yes.
good.
Need that on the internet. Yes.
And then there's like a sort of reverse side with like how to change the battery.
Oh, that is
That's
so
incredible.
good. I love it.
He's
so
very good.
much. Yeah, he could work for IKEA. That is very perfect.
I know, right? I was
That's
so
really
pleased with how it came
good.
out. But yeah,
That is-
I'm making
You
a
done
video on
good.
these sometime soon, but I haven't got around to doing it. But I swear to God, soldering like and printing like 60 of these to mail out was like nearly the death of me. That was
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
such an undertaking. That
Dear
was running the
God.
printer constantly for quite a while.
Yeah. But so worth it.
But
I
I'm
love
so
the
pleased
idea
with
of
how
a
they
hidden
turned out,
lithophane.
so.
That is just gorgeous. Oh, I love it.
I love the idea of
love it.
reverse lithophane. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I've been
That's
thinking
some
of all
galaxy
kinds of
brain
different
shit
ways we
right
could
there.
Do that.
Galaxy brain, definitely.
Like think about doing kind of like little mini treasure maps or something and having like a box and then it lights up. And then I think there's just so many cool things that you could do with like a backwards lithophane.
I'm
Basically,
thinking about games.
But like secret
LED
messages.
button, reverse lithophane, result. Like that's it. Well done.
I'm like, a board game, you could do a board game, and if you do the right things, it would light up, and maybe even the board game teaches you electronics as you go. I don't know.
Yes.
Like if you do the
Oh
right,
my god, that's
like,
so good.
I don't know, that could be cool. And then you get,
I could totally see
feel
that.
and
like
it's
we
like
should build
Cluedo,
that. I
but
feel like
you're
we should build
learning
it.
electronics. I don't know.
Yes. Because if you put all the, maybe it's like a board, and if you put all the parts together right, and then you get to see the secret message. Yes.
And it could totally be like 3D printed, like you could basically have like two pieces of 3D printed things. So you have like the board where you move around on the one side, and then you have like the reverse lithophane on the other side. And then like it's a box with the electronics in it. Basically, we just need somebody who actually knows how to design board game, like the gameplay, to come up with that bit.
Yeah.
We both studied video games. We got this. We got this, Faye. We got.
Weirdly enough, board game design and video game design are actually
is
very
kinda
different beasts.
It is.
I've never designed a board game.
Ah.
We can find
But I feel like I'd enjoy it.
I'm sure there are people
Oh no,
out
100%.
there.
I totally know. I'm such a board game nerd. I know people.
Oh,
I do
we're
actually
set.
know people.
Now I'm like even more excited that you're in the same city as me.
Are you
because
also
board
a board
games.
game?
There are like so many board game cafes and like board game bars.
I was gonna say, I'm actually lucky enough to have some that aren't a million miles away from where I live either, which is pretty cool. I don't know if you've ever been to the Bad Moon Cafe, but that one's nice, and it's like only like 30 minutes from where I live. So, but of course, like nothing exists anymore. But I also own many board games, so like
Yes.
that's also
We've got a few here as well, so we can definitely, we'll find something to play.
They don't call me Geeky Faye for no reason. It is a well-earned moniker, indeed.
Oh,
For sure.
this has been so lovely. Thank you so
Oh,
much,
it has been the
Hannah.
most fun.
I'm so glad that you
Thank
came
you for
on. I've been
having
wanting to
me.
ask you for ages, and I was like working up the courage because you're like the coolest. And
Ah.
I've been avoiding it for such a long time because I'm like,
said that.
what if she says no? And and then
Ridiculous. Like, I was so starstruck coming on here. It was like, I'm Jamaica royalty. And I'm like, they invited me.
Oh, whatever.
Why do you think I'm like wearing a light up dress? I was like, I've got to make a massive effort here. Like,
well, it's amazing and like
I was like, I hope
amazing.
they think I'm cool. I'm going to wear a light up
We
dress. And I'm gonna have,
definitely-
like, all of my well organized boxes in the background.
Well, you look amazing, and you make amazing, and it's all just amazing.
Amazing.
And
You're amazing.
I do also enjoy
Thank you.
that when we have boys on the show, I feel like it's all quite well behaved and it's good. And then we get three girls together. We're just like, it's like all bets are off. It's just suddenly very surprisingly crass and extra sweary.
Yeah.
And it's just like,
Yeah, I'm
I like
sorry
it.
about that.
No, I love it.
I
It's
do
great.
love
It's
it.
very
I love
freeing.
it, so.
yeah, don't be sorry.
It's the same in the women's
That is
3D printing
odd.
group actually. When it's just girls, we're all dick jokes and swearing. It's great. I love it.
It's almost like we behave more when the boys are in.
My best performing tweet
Pardon?
recently was
Oh, yeah.
was the accidental penis owl. So clearly that's popular.
Well, we didn't even get to talk about your generative art either. And the tampon one that you did that's so good after that guy was like talking about
Christ.
oh my god, I love that so much. So much.
No.
I had a lot of
Yeah.
fun with
Let
that. I
this
had a lot of
let
fun.
this be proof to all of the men out there who think that women are all just sweet and pure and innocent. We are just pretending around
no.
you, and this is how we really are.
Yeah.
110%.
This is what we're really like.
The real deal.
It's true.
Thank you so much, Hannah, for joining
Thank you,
us.
Hannah. This
You
was
Thank
are
you for
an
putting up with me.
absolute gem.
This was
It's
wonderful.
been a blast.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
I am loving making this series, and if you are too, please support me on Patreon so I can keep making more. Top supporters will appear in this list of legends. You can meet another maker here, and here's a video YouTube thinks you'll like. If you want to catch up with any of us, all our socials are in the description below. See you later!